Well, hello. This is Executive Senior Sales Director Alicia Lokai, and I'm so excited to share with you a little bit about the theme of our fall retreat this weekend. And so the theme is We Will Rise, and I chose the eagle as the symbol of rising above and excellence and being the leader and being incredible and all those great things. And I think I know that my mom, who is National Sales Director Emeritus, Sharon Kingery, we grew up with eagles all over the house. I mean, there were like eagles everywhere, like eagle art, eagle, statues, eagle, there was just there, everything was eagles. And so I think that that's where my love of how incredible the eagle is began. And it was always bald eagles. It was always bald eagles. And then my mom every year at seminar, she would always give an eagle to the most improved director. And she said, this is the person that has worked harder, that has done more, that has risen above more, that has, had more obstacles than anybody else. And so they are like an eagle. So I'm going to give you the 7 principles of leadership about eagles. And by the way, if you are in the Future Lokai area or you are adopted into our area, you might want to hang up because you're going to hear this again. Okay. All right. So lesson number 1 is eagles fly alone and at high altitude. Eagles are not down on the ground, pecking with the chickens, pecking with the birds. They don't fly with the ravens. They don't fly, mess around with the turkeys. They don't mess around with the small birds. They are high up with the other eagles. And so what that most reminds me of is the importance of staying away from people that are not eagles. So how many people do we know that we spend time with that are complaining about their day or complaining that they're tired or complaining that this is not changing or complaining about this or, just always complaining and whining and it may not even be something that you're, maybe you've stopped noticing just because sometimes, when you hear something over and over again, we start to just kind of accept it. But what I want to encourage you to do is to take a really hard look at the people that you are spending time with. And you know that you are an average of the 5 people that you flock with. And so are you flocking with the people that are where you want to be? Are people talking about ideas? Are people talking about their dreams? Are the people that you're surrounding yourself with, are they talking about the great things that are going to happen? So eagles fly with eagles. So keep good company. Okay. So the second lesson the second leadership lesson of the eagle is eagles have an accurate vision. I mean, it is like almost perfect vision. And so they have the ability to focus on something as far as 5 kilometers away. No matter what the obstacles, the eagle will not move his focus from the prey until he grabs it. And so what the meaning of that is we have to have the vision, and we have to have the fortitude, and we have to have the courage to go after our goal and to keep our eye on the prize until the prize is ours, until you've achieved that. If you were running a race and if you were running a race as fast as you could and you were looking side to side or you were looking behind you, there's a chance you could trip. There is a chance you could get out of your lane, your running lane. There is a chance you could crash into somebody else. And so don't worry about what's going on around you and what has happened in the past. We are not defined by our past. So keep your eyes focused on the goal and keep going no matter what. So even when it looks like things are not going to happen, you keep going. You just don't stop. You never stop because you don't know if that last half of a second of time that you spend making one last phone call or, one last thing that you're doing could be the difference between you reaching your goal and not. Okay, lesson number 3 is eagles do not eat dead things. Okay? They're not eating like, all those stuff laying around on the ground. They feed only on fresh prey. And so the way I look at that, the meaning is behind that is don't rely on your past successes because your past is your past. And if you have been successful, that is great. That means that you need to keep moving forward. And my mom always used to call it resting on our laurels. She said, you have to work hard to get to the top, but then once you're at the top, you have to work even harder. And it's not so much physical work, but it is because you are constantly trying to outdo yourself. And you have to be careful with that because you don't want it to get out of control. But in order to be the best that we could possibly be, we want to constantly be metamorphosizing and changing and being the best that we can. So don't worry about what's happened in the past. Forget it and move on because, again, your past does not define you. Okay. So the next one is eagles love a storm. So when the clouds gather, eagles get really excited. So the eagle actually uses the storm's wind to lift itself higher. And once it finds the wind of the storm, the eagle uses the raging storm to lift itself above the clouds. So the eagle isn't running around like all the rest of the animals, looking for shelter, trying to hide in a hole or in a tree or in a nest. They actually fly into the storm. And what happens is this gives the eagle the opportunity to glide and rest its wings because it's high above the clouds. And so I just love this. I love this. And I think the meaning behind this is that we should never be afraid of our challenges. Achievers are not afraid. We may not be sure how things are going to work out. We may be a little bit scared, but we go forward. And instead of being scared and, oh my gosh, how is this going to happen? Is it going to be okay? That's where our faith comes in. My mom always used to say, why do you pray? Or why do you stress when you're in times of when you have hard things going on in your life? Why do you go to church and do all of your preparation if when you get stressed out, you should pray? Because when you pray, that takes the stress away. And she used to tell me that, and I'm sure that you've heard this before, but if you're going to pray, don't worry. And if you're going to worry, don't pray. So I love this because we should be excited about the obstacles and the things that are, I don't know about excited, but we need to be looking forward for the things that are going to be coming because the higher up you go, the more challenges you get, but the more you're able to overcome. And when you're able to overcome those challenges, you have grown, and this is where you start creating a legacy because you're willing to do things that most people aren't willing to do. And so you are creating this incredible legacy for yourself and for the people that know you. Okay, number 5 is when a female eagle meets a male eagle, she tests him for commitment. So the eagles mate for life. They're monogamous, which I think is super cool. And what the female eagle does is to test the male eagle to see if he is worth her companionship. Is she flies high and the male eagle is flying with her. And then all of a sudden, she finds a stick, and she gets the stick in her beak, and then she dives down as fast as she can. And while she's diving down, the male eagle is right behind her, and she drops the stick. And what the male eagle has to do is he has to pick up that stick before it drops to the ground, fly it back up, and give it to the female eagle. Well, as if that weren't enough, she has him do it again. And this time she goes higher. She flies higher. And then she dives even deeper, drops that stick. And then if he can catch the stick before it reaches the ground, then he is deemed worthy of being her mate for life. And so the meaning of that is commitment, and that don't just settle. Don't just settle for what is coming your way. And I think that, that is one of the saddest things, is when we see people settling, when if they just would have stretched a little bit longer or a little bit higher, that they would achieve their goals. And so be committed. Be committed to what you say you're going to do. And if you say you're going to do it, do it. And if you're not going to do it, then don't say it. Choose another goal, but be committed to whatever it is that you say. Okay, lesson number 6 is eagles prepare for training. And so with this particular lesson, the eagles, when they can actually live up to 70 years, but around the time they turn 40, their feathers become so heavy, and it makes it almost impossible to fly. Their beaks become what's the word? Their beaks just turn in so much that it's hard for them to dig around, make the nest, do the different things that they do. And their talons become misshapen. And so again, they're not able to get their prey. And so what this does is it actually forces the eagle to make a choice. They can either go off into solidarity for, I think it's about 45 days that they do this, or they can die, because that's really their only two choices. And so the eagles that decide to go through this incredibly painful process, here's what they do. So they go and they build a nest that's really, really high up, and they actually pluck their beak out. They bang their beak against the rocks, and just the different things that are around them until the beak actually falls out. And it's a very, very painful and bloody process. And so this is kind of like, I should have done this last week when it was Halloween. But the eagle waits for the beak to grow back. And once the beak grows back, then the eagle starts to pluck out his feathers, the old feathers. And those old feathers will be replaced by new, fresh feathers, which will allow the eagle to fly. And, of course, I cannot remember what the talons do. What he does with the talons, I cannot remember. I think they fall out, but I can't remember. Oh, my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is so embarrassing. Okay. And then the last thing that the eagles do, you know what, I read the wrong one. I said it was training. This is the change. The one I just talked to you about is the change that we have to be willing to go through in order to be great. We have to be willing to metamorphosize ourselves so that so that we can achieve the goals that we want to achieve. We have to be willing to it's painful to grow. It's painful to fall down. It's painful to not reach your goals. But what we have to do is be willing to get rid of those old beliefs and be willing to hear the new stuff, all the yucky stuff that we have in our heads. replace it with positive, good books and talks and, everything that you can put into your head. I heard recently that we are who we read. So we are a product of the books that we read. And so are the books that you're reading, first of all, are you reading books? And secondly, are the books inspirational? Okay, and helpful to you in some way. All right, and then the last one is the teaching, which I accidentally said was the sixth one, but this is actually the seventh. Okay, so here's what happens. So the last one is the female, when she has her little baby eaglets, what she does is she makes this beautiful nest, and it's so comfy and warm and soft, and the eaglets just want to stay in it forever. Well, what she begins to do is as the eaglets start growing and that she knows that they are prepared to fly, she starts to make the nest really uncomfortable. So she starts removing the feathers, and she starts making it so that it's almost unbearable. The eaglets are, they're miserable because they're in this awful, sharp, not comfortable, they can't sleep nest, and so they would rather fly and possibly die than they would to stay in this uncomfortable nest. But that is how the eaglets learn how to fly, is they just go and get it done. They just go and do it. And so the meaning of that is to leave your comfort zone. Don't worry about how things are going to happen or if it's going to work out. I promise you, the one thing we know about Mary Kay is as long as you don't quit, you cannot fail in this business. As long as you don't quit, there's no way that you can fail. And so when there's no growth, when you're in a comfort zone, there is no growth. There is no growth. You can't become the person that God created you to be. You have to be out of your comfort zone. And if you're in a place right now where you're not sure where to go or which way to turn in your business, then my advice is to just do something. Pick up the phone and make a call, or go out and hand out another business card, or go put out a lead box, or go do an interview with the person that intimidates the living life out of you. Go and just do something. It doesn't have to be everything. It just has to be one thing, and that one thing will give you the confidence to do the next thing. So thank you so much for taking time to listen to these 7 leadership characteristics of the eagle. And I hope that you're able to apply these incredible creatures and their habits to your life so that we can be the best that we can be and leave the legacy that we are supposed to leave. Have a great day.